Hello and welcome to the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast. This is going to be the place to be each and every week because we're going to talk to the top coaches in the state. We're going to give you the biggest news in high school football so you don't miss anything. We're also going to look at the top performers and the biggest winners of each and every Friday night. And we're also going to preview the crucial games of each and every upcoming Friday night as well. Best way to get in touch with me is on social media. If you'd like to ask me a question, make a comment, tell me how smart I am, tell me how much you love me. Those are all great things, but if you want to tell me how stupid I am, you can do that too. The best way to do that is on Twitter at Matt Stewart TV or Facebook at Matt Stewart Sports. That's my Facebook page. But also I'm on Instagram too at Matt Stewart TV Sports. Also, my YouTube page is at Matt Stewart Sports. That way you can find episodes that you might have missed along the way. But you're not going to miss any because you're going to like and subscribe. And if you subscribe, please like, and please subscribe. If you do that, you're going to get a notification each and every week that we drop an episode, that the next episode is ready to go. That way you don't miss anything. So please subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything. You're just going to get a notification that the next episode is available. So coming up in this first episode, we're going to talk to Milton head coach Ben Reaves. Wow. What a career he's already had, and it's just the fourth season of his head coaching career at Milton. He's won back-to-back state championships, and in 2024, last year, he was also the national champions, the number one ranked public high school football program in the entire country. So are they reloading? Are they rebuilding? We'll talk to Ben coming up here in the not-too-distant future, so stick around for that. It's coming up. And we're also going to, each and every week leading up to the start of the regular season, I'm going to release my top 10s. So this week's top 10s will be in Class 1A, Division 1 and Division 2. These will be my preseason rankings for Class 1A, Division 1, Division 2, and also my All-State teams for those two classifications. And we'll be doing rankings every week as well. Preseason all the way up through 6A, leading up to the start of the regular season, which is not that far away. Corky Kell Classic coming up. I'll be doing some games once again in the Corky Kell Classic. Look forward to doing that. And then the GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia starts on September 5th, the Friday after Labor Day this year. We're putting together a robust schedule. I think you're going to love it. So before we get started with our interview with Milton head coach Ben Reaves, we're going to hit some news. And we start on a somber note, unfortunately, with the passing of legendary coach T. McFerrin. Passed away this week at the age of 83. Outstanding coach and better man. Had the opportunity, I did, to call a number of his 341 career victories and 38 illustrious seasons. Can you believe that? Man, he did it a long, long time. Coach T won state championships at Elbert County and also at Jefferson. Got 4 different teams to the state championship games, 5 other teams to the semifinals. All total, he led 7 different programs to a region title, which is a state record. He was one of those guys, he didn't stay in one spot very long. He liked to go and build. He liked to go and build and win and then another challenge. Just a tremendous coach, tremendous man. His true impact really measured in his coaching tree. You look at his coaching tree and look at all the guys that he graduated out from underneath him who were assistant coaches to go on and win state championships. And this is just a few of them now. This is not the entire coaching tree. Dave Hunter, Mickey Kahn, Josh Lovelady, Shannon Jarvis, who won a state championship with him at Elbert County and then built Mill Creek into a powerhouse. And you think of all the players, hundreds, thousands probably, of players that he coached. And just the one that jumps off the page at me is David Green. You all know David Green as the all-time winningest quarterback in Georgia Bulldogs history, who went on and set the record. He became the all-time winningest quarterback in college football history. And that record's been broken, but at the time he was, when he played for the Georgia Bulldogs. Well, he was at South Gwinnett High School before T. McFerrin got there. And the year before T. McFerrin got there, they were running the wing T, and the Comets went 0-10. And the first year that T. McFerrin got there, he recognized the tremendous talent he had in David Green, and they became a passing team, as you would with David Green. And they went 8-5 and got to the quarterfinals. Dramatic turnaround from no wins to the quarterfinals in one season. Played a huge role. Who knows, would David have ever reached the heights that he reached as a great quarterback at the University of Georgia and then a quarterback in the National Football League. Had it not been for T. McFerrin, only David Green could probably answer that for you. But on the outside looking in, you can see the impact. I mean, it was almost immediate. In fact, it wasn't almost, it was immediate that he had on David Green and South Gwinnett. He went through a tough time, unfortunately, the last couple of years of his life with health problems and battled dementia there at the end. And to his friends and his family, I want to share this verse. This was shared with me when I lost my dad. And it's Romans 8:18, because I believe this with all my heart. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is going to be revealed to us. And I honestly and truly believe that with all my heart. And Coach T. McFerrin has now had that glory revealed to him. That's amazing. So we'll move on. It's hard to transition from a story like that, but I had to start with that because T, one of the greatest coaches in Georgia high school football history, no longer with us. But I do want to hit the top commitments. I'm going to do recruiting each and every week on this podcast. I'm big into recruiting. So we're going to hit the top 10 commitments. Now, the month of June was crazy in the state of Georgia as far as the number of players, over 200 players. I lost track. There were so many. Over 200 high school football players from the state of Georgia committed to play college football in the month of June. So let's look back at the top 10 for the last 2 weeks because there's no way we could hit them all. So this is the top 10 from the last 2 weeks. Number 10 on the list, McEachern, 4-star Nayland Scott, committed to Nebraska. Over 30-plus offers, including Arizona State. He flipped from Arizona State to Nebraska. He's rated as high as the Rivals' number 25 wide receiver in the country in 2026. Number 9 on the list, Sandy Creek 4-star Amari Latimer. He committed to Wisconsin, over 45-plus offers, including Georgia Tech. He took an official visit to Georgia Tech, and he also took an official to Wisconsin, chose the Badgers, rated as high as the Rivals' number 13 running back in the country in 2026. Number 8 on the list is North Oconee 4-star wide receiver Dallas Dickerson, committed to Kentucky, over 25-plus offers, including Indiana, Georgia Tech, and Oklahoma. This kid's a real burner, 10.36 in the 100, 4.42 in the 40, and he's going to be a big-time player. Was a big-time player last year for North Oconee as they won their first ever state championship. Going to have an even bigger role now that Landon Roldan has gone on to the University of Georgia. He had like 20-something catches, 500 yards, 6 touchdowns, something like that last year. He might double those numbers this year in that offense with Harrison Faulkner at quarterback. But he'll be a big-time player for Coach Taylor Arndt and his team as they go for the repeat. Number 7 on the list, North Cobb 4-star Brandon Anderson, committed to Missouri, over 30-plus offers, including Maryland, North Carolina, and Tennessee. He originally committed to the Vols last season, like right after we had North Cobb on GPB Sports Football Fridays in Georgia and their win at Cherokee, like 2 days after he committed to Tennessee, and then he decommitted 3 months later. He's rated as high as ESPN's number 10 offensive guard in the country for 2026. He is a massive human being at 6'4", 320. Number 6 on the list is Cambridge 4-star Craig Dandridge. Craig Dandridge committed to Georgia, over 25-plus offers, including Stanford, Georgia Tech, and Oklahoma. Rated as high as the Rivals' number 19 wide receiver in the country in 2026. Great story here. Meteoric rise for Dandridge. Nobody really knew a lot about Dandridge this time a year ago. Tyler Jones, who was the OC at Walton, became the head coach at Cambridge. They had a great season last year, and Dandridge took off. He did not have an offer. Now, he did not have a college football offer until the first week of January this year. So in 6 months, he went from 0 offers to 25-plus, and that first offer from Georgia Tech, and then he just recently committed to the Georgia Bulldogs. So a great story there for Craig Dandridge. Number 5 on the list, Langston Hughes 4-star Xavier Tiller, committed to Florida State, over 35-plus offers, including Alabama and Auburn. When we saw him on Football Fridays in Georgia last year, he was committed to Texas A&M, and he stayed that way for a while and then decommitted from the Aggies. He's rated as high as the ESPN number 4 tight end in the country in 2026. I don't know what they do at Langston Hughes, man. I mean, this is back-to-back. Last 3 years, they've had one of the top tight ends in the entire country. Jelani Thurman, who went to Ohio State, and now you got Xavier Tiller, who's committed to Florida State, and he's in the class of 2026. Number 4 on the list, North Oconee 4-star Kamari Brooks, committed to Georgia, over 30-plus offers, including Alabama, rated as high as Rivals' number 6 edge defender in the country in 2026. If you saw the Titan State Championship victory over Marist back in December. Kamari is the epitome of the alpha. I mean, he plays both sides of the ball. He's a game wrecker at linebacker. He's a playmaker on offense. They'll line him up at tight end or H-back and get him the ball, and he just does everything. He makes tackles on special teams. He does everything. He's amazing. He's also a great basketball player. North Laconia won back-to-back state championships as well with him playing on the basketball team. So number 4 on our list is Kamari Brooks, and I know Georgia Bulldog fans, Kirby Smart, extremely happy to have him in the class. Number 3 is Colquitt County 4-star Jay Lamar, committed to Georgia, over 30-plus offers, including Auburn, Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, rated as high as the Rivals' number 4 running back in the country in 2026. Number 2 on the list, Douglas County 4-star Devin Carter, committed to Florida State, over 35-plus offers, including Georgia, North Carolina, and Auburn, to whom he originally committed before flipping to the Seminoles, which is his dad's alma mater. You might remember Dexter Carter starred for the Seminoles and then played for the Super Bowl champion 49ers. Wayne Gandy and I, my partner Wayne Gandy on Football Fridays in Georgia, we actually had the opportunity to meet his dad Dexter. He came up to the booth when we were doing a game at Douglas County, the Carrollton game, by the way. Great visit with him, and he kind of let us know, he was a running back. Devin's a wide receiver, different body size, of course. Devin's built like a wide receiver, but he said he actually kind of pushed Devin to the wide receiver spot because he sees the running back spot diminishing and the wide receiver spot, of course, expanding and becoming more and more prolific and important in offenses, not just college, pros, also in high school. Devin is extremely agile. He's slender. He's got great body control, got flypaper hands. Love him. I've seen him I saw him at Cedar Grove too. He's a tremendous wide receiver. He's number 2 on the list. And number 1 commitment for the last 2 weeks, really probably for the entire summer, is Gainesville 5-star Xavier Griffin, committed to his boyhood favorite team, the Alabama Crimson Tide, over 35-plus offers, including Ohio State, Texas, and Florida State. His mom posted pictures of him on Twitter after he committed to Alabama of 3-year-old Xavier decked out in his Alabama uniform. I mean, full gear, including the helmet. And he told his mama back then that he was going to roll with the Tide. I don't know if he actually said that or not. I just said that. But he did tell his mama back then when he was 3 years old that he wanted to play for the Alabama Crimson Tide. He originally committed actually to USC last summer, but then decommitted in May. He's rated as high as the 24/7 Sports number 1 linebacker in the country. Didn't get a chance to see him last year because when we had Gainesville on, he was hurt. In fact, he missed 8 games, parts of 8 games last year. Probably a big reason why Gainesville's season didn't quite turn out the way they anticipated that it would. But I expect Gainesville to be in the mix for a state championship here in 2025. So go ahead, hit that like button, and also subscribe so you don't miss any episodes of the Matt Stewart Sports High School Football Podcast. Time now to welcome in the head coach of the Milton Eagles, Ben Reaves, who's kind enough to join us on his vacation time. And Ben starting his 4th season as the Eagles head coach, 38-6 going into season number 4, back-to-back state championships. The program is 92-18 since he joined it in 2017, first as the offensive coordinator. Ben, how you doing?
Doing good. On vacation, like you said, so just enjoying this dead week and, still ready to get back and get after it, though. Football's always on my mind, even on the dead week. So it's good to talk a little Milton football with you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Once you guys get back and all the programs in the state get back starting next week, for you guys, hopefully it's a long marathon with some sprints in there mixed in with it to get to the state championship game in mid-December.
Yeah, definitely something we're used to at Milton, playing into December. So, you always want to keep that in mind and make sure that you are keeping somewhat of a marathon pace, even in the summer. So we keep all that in mind, but still there's work to be done and more so this year than years past, just due to all the newness of this team. So we're ready to get back and get after it.
So when did the celebration end for you guys, and how did this championship in 2024 compare to the one in 2023?
Yeah, both, were different, unique in their own ways. The one in 2023 was, special to me. It was my first one as a head coach, and it also was with a team that was essentially the underdog all year long, So to go in and be that underdog, is a unique feeling in itself to pull it out. And then fast forward to 24, being the favorite, right? So now we're on the opposite end of the spectrum. You're the favorite. So those were challenges and, waters that we had to navigate as a team and as a coaching staff. But because of that, both felt different in their own unique way. But the celebration did end whenever winter workout started, right? Because essentially have a whole new team, a bunch of young guys that are ready to play, a bunch of new starters that are ready to play. And so they knew that it was time to quit celebrating and get to work. I will say that you always appreciate the championships. You can't celebrate them forever, but you can appreciate them forever because once you're champions, that never goes away.
Is it easier to transition back into the next season after that state championship when you look around the room and most of the guys that helped you as starters win that state championship are now playing college football?
Yeah, it does make it a little bit easier just because, like I said, there's a new energy, a lot of new faces, and a lot of work to do. So there's literally no time to waste. So you do have to transition quickly, like I said. But also, when you are at the top of the mountain, so to speak, after winning a championship, you know that everyone is gunning for you. So that in itself, motivates me, motivates us let's get the work done. It's time to move on, put that past us, and start looking out the front windshield instead of the rearview mirror.
Not only the state champions, but the national champions. You finished as the number one ranked public school program in the entire country. Only Mater Dei was ranked higher, and they're, of course, a very exclusive private school out in California. And it would have been great had you had the opportunity to play those guys, but that just never was a chance to do that because of the rules involving California football. But congratulations on the national championship. As well. I thought you were crazy when a year ago you talked to us about winning a national championship, going 15-0. Nothing wrong with having that goal, but to publicly talk about it with your team and with everybody else, I thought, wow, what's he stepping into here? But it worked out. What gave
Yeah,
you confidence to do that?
for one, I knew that we had a really good team, arguably, one of the best that the state of Georgia has ever seen, top to bottom.
That's a true
Knew we were.
statement.
Yes, sir. Just returning a lot of experience. And, whenever I originally saw the polls, because you have to start out pretty high to have a shot at it and obviously run the table, it never was anything cocky or boastful. It just was a realistic thing that was in front of us. It was something that I had never dealt with, the program had never dealt with. And there's a tremendous amount of pressure with trying to achieve that, with trying to go 15-0. It's very, very tough in this state. And I didn't want the team to feel any unneeded pressure or any headlines sneak up on them and them kind of be in awe of like, wow, national champions, that's a big word. So I just went ahead and wanted to take the elephant out of the room and discuss it because, like I said, it was a real thing. And like I told the team, we're going to continue to discuss it until it's not a thing. And thankfully for us, it was a thing all season, and we did what we needed to do.
No doubt about it, it stayed a thing. So, for people not familiar with Milton football, they are kind of like the program's ascension to a state championship winning team and program. It's not unlike what the Atlanta Braves did. I mean, Milton was the Atlanta Braves prior to 1991 for 70 years. I mean, I think they'd only won one or two state playoff games ever in program history in 70 years. That's a long time.
Right.
Things changed when you guys came in. You came in with Adam Clack, who had a vision to make the program a national brand, and you have certainly continued that as you play programs all over the country and now have won a national championship. But how would you describe the transformation of this program from a nobody to a state championship winning team every year or contender every year?
Yeah, it truly was a perfect storm. There was a lot of hard work and good coaching that occurred at Milton before us, and we're appreciative of that groundwork that was laid. But sometimes just a fresh set of eyes, a fresh set of ideas, new scheme here or there can make a difference, and that's what we were able to come in and offer as a coaching staff. And then we also inherited a really, really good group of kids. A lot of good players, a lot of players that loved Milton, that were hungry to win, that would do whatever it took to win, and truly bought into what we were asking them to do and bought into the schemes and played hard for each other day in and day out. So it was a perfect mix, like I said. And, once we were able to win that first state championship, that's just when the mindset really flipped throughout the community, and we were viewed differently, within the state and throughout the community. And now, you have excitement in the 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade levels to where kids are wanting to play Milton football again. So year after year, we're able to bring up a good crop of kids and continue to develop and just, keep it rolling as long as we can.
Started with that special quarterback, and it's funny. I can look back at a specific game, and you may have other games, but I can look back at a specific game and say, wow, Milton has arrived. It started with your quarterback, Jordan Yates, who led you to your first state championship. And of course, we tie that thread into later on Luke Nickel, who led you to the last 2 state championships, who might be one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to walk through the state of Georgia. Now he's at the University of Miami. So, but Jordan Yates, back in 2018, you guys beat Archer in the Corky Kell Classic. I televised that game, or we televised that game. I didn't televise it. I called the play-by-play, but it was televised, and I had the opportunity to call that game. It was at that point I realized this was not your grandfather's Milton anymore.
Yeah, that was something that all summer long, we just talked and wanted those guys to buy in and just be different. Ironically, despite the history of Milton, if you look back at 2017, we finished second in the region and made it to the second round of the playoffs, which was one of the best seasons they had ever had. And the team and the staff wasn't satisfied. So we already had the right mindset and attitude going into 2018. And then you couple it with really, really good players and good senior leadership and guys like Jordan Yates, touching the football every play. And so we knew that Archer was what I always say is a defining moment, in that season, because we went in with a lot of belief of things that we could do. But, there still was a very big mystique about, Gwinnett County football, and Archer was a juggernaut in those days. And just simply hard to get anything on them, and so we needed that game to not only keep the belief rolling, but to make it just compound exponentially. As a staff, I know Coach Clack and I think we started planning for Archer, as early as May, because we knew just how monumental it could be, not just for the season, but just for the mindset and the attitude of the team and the belief of the team.
You mentioned Gwinnett County football, and certainly it's still there. It's death grip on the highest classification is kind of, and I say that jokingly, of course, is kind of is not quite as strong as it used to be. If I'm not mistaken, in 2023, when you guys beat Walton, it was the first time in the highest classification in like over 20 years, or maybe even longer than that a team from South Georgia or a team from Gwinnett County had not played in the finals.
Yeah, I believe so. Gwinnett does still carry some mystique. But I do think that things have started to disperse a little bit into other counties. So it's fun to see different teams playing and make it to the championship. Obviously, us being one of them. But there's just so much talent, in the Metro Atlanta area that, truly any team from any county at this point, I think, can make a good run.
Before we talk about your team in 2025 and hit some of the players and let you tell us a little bit about what you anticipate from those guys, I want to talk a little bit about your roots. You didn't just show up at Milton and start winning championships. You actually you played for your dad at Newton High School. He was a coach at 4 different high schools, kind of in the South Atlanta area. Talk about the impact he had in your life from a football standpoint, and how that's helped mold you as a coach, and also your experience at the University of Georgia when you went there, and how that's helped you as well develop into the coach you are today.
Yeah, like I tell everyone, outside of the 4 years I was at Georgia, truly the only time that I've missed a high school practice, was those 4 years. I grew up on a football field. Still remember to this day, just, going and getting the tractor with my dad so he could cut the practice field type of deal. So something that I've always been around, something that my family's always been around, and just a lifestyle that not only did I grow up living, but one that I fell in love with, and one that I knew I wanted to continue myself one day. Being at Georgia, I was there for fantastic years, and, learned a lot under Coach Rick. Was there for an SEC championship. Unfortunately, my career got cut short due to concussions, but still was able to be around some high-level guys, a lot of high-level football players, but also got an opportunity to be with the team for a year as a student assistant coach, and, work with the DBs and the scout team receivers a little bit in whatever capacity they needed. And that was enough for me to know that, college football probably wasn't the route that I wanted to go. Truly want to have, family and balance and things of that nature. And those guys, man, it's just a 24/7 grind. So my goal was always to be as close to college football as I possibly could, be at the top program that I could find as close to it, but not quite, with all the responsibilities that a college football coach has. And thankfully, after a couple stops myself, I found that in Milton.
Berrien was where you started, then Bayshore, Florida. You were at Collins Hill for 6 years before you joined Adam Clack there at Milton in 2017. And you certainly have been able to achieve that goal. I mean, you watched Milton play the last couple of years, and it's about as close to a college football team and program in the way that you approach it, the way you coach those guys, as you can get without it being a college football program. So congratulations on that. You've achieved that goal.
Thank you.
So moving ahead to this team that in 2025, I think you got 2 starters back on offense. You got 2 starters back, maybe 3 starters back on defense, but some other guys who certainly got meaningful playing time. So it's not like the cupboard is bare. Let's start with your quarterback, Luke Nickel, who we mentioned earlier, who's now at Miami. Certainly will go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks in Georgia high school football history. But you replace him with a young man who moved in from the state of Florida, Derek Baker. So what's your quarterback position look like? Because Luke, again, he didn't just show up. He was there for 3 years, and that sophomore year was a learning experience for him. But he certainly learned it and turned it into 2 state championship seasons the next 2 years after that.
Yeah, no, Luke, he got thrown in at a young age, but he was ready for it. He was able to handle it. And just, all the stuff that he was able to accomplish at Milton, truly a storybook career for him. And, I joke all the time that, I may have kept him from being known as the greatest quarterback ever in the state of Georgia, because there's very few games or seasons really where he played complete games, maybe, 3, 4, 5 a season to where he was in there in a complete game and the playbook was completely open, which definitely affected stats and things of that nature. But regardless, he doesn't care about all of that. He was always a team first guy. And so just being able to hold the trophies up with the team was all that he ever dreamed of. And glad he got to achieve that. And then moving forward, it's funny that we've talked about Jordan Yates and we've talked about Luke a little bit, because I really see a mixture of both of those guys in Derek. Derek, moved up from Florida, like you said, and had to compete in spring and separated himself and won the starting quarterback job. We went ahead and made that decision going into summer. And there's just so many things about him and his game that reminds me of both of those guys, which is a good thing for us. But he's just such a pro in everything that he does. He's a hard worker. You can tell football means everything to him, and being great means everything to him. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do as the starting quarterback of next year's team.
So one of the things I loved about Luke, and one of the things I thought was instrumental in you guys winning the state championships, in particular the 2023, was Luke had a fullback type mentality or linebacker type mentality when he ran the football. And I thought that was so important for you guys, that he was not afraid to take a hit or deliver a hit. And I hated I love that he's at Miami. I hated when I saw Carson Beck sign on there. But hey, wherever he goes in college football, you're going to have to compete ultimately with some really big names. So good luck to him down at Miami.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He's definitely, like you said, he's got all the tools. He can throw it, he can run it. But the X factor with Luke is he's just a competitor. He's a winner. Luke was truly a guy that he was going to put the team on his back and not let the team lose. And that's a characteristic that I've seen in Derek. And Derek, he can run it as well. In spring practice, when all the college recruiters were showing up, they would ask, where's the quarterback? And then you point him out. And they're like, man, I thought that was a linebacker. I thought that was a running back. Derek doesn't miss the weight room. And, people will see that when they see him play. He's a really big, thick kid with a lot of athletic ability. So, like I said, very, very similar to Luke's game and Jordan Yates' game in many, many ways.
How about who he gets the ball to? I don't know who your running backs are going to be. I know you bring back Carasquillo and you bring back Haviland in the wide receiver room. You replace Wiley and Barbour and G and, of course, Lester at running back. So you got some big shoes to fill on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, for sure. But, thankfully we got in my opinion, the best offensive coordinator and best offensive staff in the state that really know how to use whatever we have. And, year to year, I can't tell you what we're going to run on offense. I can't tell you what we're going to run on defense completely, because we truly see what kids we have and we build schemes around their skill sets. So, we may look a little bit different in some areas than last year. And, the way that we score points may look a little bit different this year, but I do know that we have the coaches. They're going to be able to develop schemes and disperse the ball, and a lot of kids that are hungry to touch the ball. Like you said, we returned Grant and Jordan, who both had really good seasons for us last year, and got a good stable of backs, and Sheldon Atchison, Walker Davis, and Bentley Hickman. Those guys have really had good spring and summers and shown a lot, and a young offensive line, but a very good offensive line. And, starting a true freshman at left tackle and a sophomore at right tackle, and, a lot of guys that need some experience in between them, but those guys work. They had a great spring themselves and a great showing in our spring game against Peachtree Ridge. So I'm excited about what we're going to be able to show offensively this year.
Is that freshman left tackle Landon G. Ryan's younger brother, not his little brother, but his younger brother? I read where he was like 6'5", 260 as a ninth grader.
It is, and he is all of that.
Amazing.
Very, very strong, very, very physical. Definitely does not stick out as a freshman. There's not a question mark of is he ready, or there's going to be some growing pains. He's ready now, and he's very, very physical and works very, very hard at his craft. So I'm excited to get him on the field.
Defensive side of the ball, Tristan Lester and Billy Wyvoda come back at the outside linebacker spots. They had busy Junes. Tristan committed to Marshall, and Billy committed to Iowa. And you also bring back Christian Hunter, who played a lot, started some games at nose. But do you have any Taminias coming along?
We have a couple. We also have Lawson Estes that's coming back in the secondary from last season, and Gage Lawrence, who played a lot up front. He started a couple of games for us as well. So just like with Christian, I kind of look at Gage as a returning starter as well. And then guys at linebacker like Blaze Battaglia, who's been dying to get on the field.
Gladiator.
Yep. And he runs around and tackles like it and lifts like it. So, he's just a great example, like I alluded to earlier, of just all the young talent that we have that, may have played at other places but weren't quite able to crack the lineup last year. Still got to play a lot in many, many games, but just a core group of kids that are really, really good football players that are just ready to get on the field and show what they can do.
I tell you what, Vyvoda really took off when we went into that Buford game last year, which we televised, your season opener, which you will reciprocate this year with the season opener at Buford. We'll hit on that in just a few moments. But, you said that outside linebacker spot was going to be a question mark for you because you'd lost so much talent there. But Billy really stepped out, had an outstanding season. I think this time a year ago, nobody really had heard much about him. He certainly didn't have any recruiting rankings, and here he is, a 3-star heading off to play at Iowa after his senior season.
Yeah, Billy's one of those guys that, I've known since he was a small kid. And, we still joke about some of our interactions that we used to have in middle school, and, one that comes and talks to me every day. So I appreciate that. But, he also was very, very tall, long, and athletic. So you can make the argument of 3 or 4 positions that he could play. And throughout his career, especially young, he was shuffled around a little bit, but we knew that we had an opening at outside linebacker going into that season, and we wanted to make sure that we gave him a shot to go win it. Although he had not necessarily been playing that spot forever, we wanted to give him a shot because he did have a bunch of characteristics similar to Ja'Cory Stewart and guys who had played that spot for us in the past. And so, going into that Buford game, we knew what he looked like, all summer and spring, but when you line up against Buford, you got to be ready to take on some really, really big boys all night long and not turn it down and, do your assignments or there's going to be some big time gaps. And, the question mark was, is he ready and willing to do this? And in that game, he was. He had a monster game, was very, very physical, really made a name for himself. And after that game, his recruiting took off and, he's never looked back.
It's funny that you mention his length because Wayne Gandy, of course, who calls the games with me, specifically pointed that out. I know you'll remember the play against Langston Hughes. He covered the guy on the deep route, and he was able to recover, and with his length at 6'2", was able to get up and knock that ball away and prevent a big pass play, maybe even a touchdown.
Yep. He, like I said, of the 3 or 4 positions he could potentially play. At one point we were talking about some DB, some safety. He's that athletic. So having a guy that isn't afraid to stick his nose in the box, but also can cover and can run with a wheel route is what makes him so special as a player and as an athlete.
Well, you got Big Bad Buford at their place, their brand new multi-million dollar, and I mean multi-million dollar stadium. They're going to open. That game's going to be on national television. That's going to be exciting to watch, no doubt about that. And they've got Big Bad Milton, so it goes both ways. I mean, it's not like you're a shrinking violet going in there. Certainly, you have a chance to get in there and pull off an upset on what will be a huge day for them, no doubt. Not only their season opener, but their brand new stadium moving out of Tom Ryden Stadium. So I know your dad and your brother, who's on your coaching staff, wide receiver coach, they're there on vacation with you. Y'all been scheming up some stuff here during vacation for that game and for the season?
Yeah, just a little bit. It's hard to scheme stuff up against Buford, though, man. They're really, really good, big, physical. It's a tough test for us, but that's just the mindset that we've always had at Milton. Is our ultimate goal is to play in Game 15, win the region championship, and we want to make sure that whatever flaws or deficiencies we do have, that they're exposed early, so that we have all season to correct those. And, part of playing Buford is, if not the top team in the state, top 3 teams in the state of Georgia. So we're going to find out really, really quickly, where we're at as a team, where our baseline is. And we're going to try to go out and, play harder than them every single play like we always have and see where it gets us, and if we're able to win the game, then that's obviously what we want to achieve. But if it doesn't go our way, we've at least got some really, really good data and feedback. And we've seen a team that, like I said, it is going to be playing into December. So we know what we have to do to fix ourselves and correct ourselves if we want to be there as well.
Well, I know that plan has always worked for you guys. I mean, the non-region, as important as it is, it's not as important as the region, and you guys have never lost a region game since you've been there. So it's worked well for you, and hopefully, and I'm sure it will here, the Buford game, win or lose, it's going to be a great game to open the season with. So, Ben, thanks a lot for taking time on your vacation to visit with us here this week on the podcast.
Yes, sir. I appreciate all you do for high school football, and, always willing to join and talk Milton football anytime you want to. So thanks for having me.
Always great to visit with Milton coach Ben Reaves. We'll be watching the Eagles closely here in 2025 as they go for the three-peat in Class 5A. Won it in 6A, won it in 5A last year. So going for their 3rd consecutive state championship here this season. It's going to be tough, no doubt about it. And special thanks to him, his family, for graciously allowing him the time to visit with us during the podcast during vacation week. I know how special that off time can be, and he took some time to join us to talk some football. I appreciate that. All right, let's get to the preseason rankings. As I promised, this week we're starting with Class 1A, and we'll start with Class 1A Division 2 and go in inverse order. At number 10, we got Irwin County. New era starts for the Indians following the retirement of Coach Casey Soliday, who, of course, followed in the footsteps of the late Buddy Noble. All total for the Indians, they've had 11 straight seasons of reaching at least the quarterfinals, and last year 12-2, and reached the semifinals in Coach Soliday's final season. But only 2 all-region players returned for new coach Larry Harrell. But we got Irwin County in at number 10. Number 9, Wilcox County. Patriots 7-5 last season and reached the playoffs for a 7th straight season. That's their best streak since going back to the 2009 state championship season, in that run that produced that championship. Their top returning players, all-state defensive back Melvin McAdoo and linebacker Miles Davis. Number 8 on the list, Johnson County. Trojans 9-3 for Coach Don Horton as Johnson County reached the playoffs for the 6th consecutive season last year. That's their best streak in over a decade. Their top returning players, all-region athlete Tayshawn Norris and quarterback Nathan Turberville. Number 7 in the top 10, ECI. A little bit of a surprise for folks because the Bulldogs were only 7-4 last year in Coach Chris Kearson's 14th and final season, but ECI is bringing back a lot for their first-year head coach Chad Harper. ECI checking in at number 7. Number 6, Manchester. 10-2 under first-year coach DeMonte Prather last season, reaching the semifinals. Blue Devils got to the state championship game the year before that in 2023. Their top returning players, all-state running back Darius Favors and 4-star cornerback Jaden Terry. Number 5, Clinch County, 11-2 for the Panthers last year in the return of Coach Jim Dickerson, reaching the quarterfinals for the third consecutive year. Dickerson led them to 5 state championships from 2004 to 2018. Their top returning players, All-State offensive lineman Kalijah Lee. Number 4, Metter, finished 10-2 last season in Coach Lee Shaw's second season with the Tigers. You know, Coach Lee Shaw, man, he's one of the best in the state, won wherever he's been. Winning now at Metter. I got him number 4. Their top returning players, their All-State quarterback, Mike Ricks. Number 3 in Division II, Brooks County, 10-5 under first-year coach Josh McFarland last year, reaching the state finals before falling to Bowden 34-14 in the state championship game. Their top returning player, he's one of the best in the country, All-State wide receiver and 4-star tight end George Lamons, and also 3-star cornerback Travis Stevenson. So they got some talent coming back here in 2025. Number 2, Lincoln County, 11-1, and their coach Lee Chomkus was the All-State Coach of the Year last year. First 11-win season for the Red Devils since they won at least 11 games, 10 straight seasons, 2003 to 2012. You get what I'm saying there under legendary coach Larry Campbell. So it looks like Lincoln County's back. Top returner, All-State quarterback / defensive back Mekhi Wade. And number 1 on the list, I mean, who else could it be? It's got to be Bowden, right? How can you pick against Coach Richard Finley's Red Devils? They're going for their 4th straight state championship here in 2025. And only West Rome and Buford have won 4 straight championships in state history. So Bowden trying to join them in state history this year. They're 40-5 the last 3 seasons. Top returning player, 5-star tight end wide receiver, All-State offensive player of the year, Caden Prothro, who's absolutely one of the top players, not only in the state of Georgia, but in the entire country at his position. Tight end, wide receiver. They pretty much use him as a wide receiver. Bowden, number 1, should not be a big surprise as they've won 3 straight state championships in a row. We got a big target on their back, no doubt about it. Okay, let's take a look at the 1A Division II preseason All-State team. I'll try to buzz through this pretty quick because that's a lot of players. But quarterback Mike Ricks of Metter, 1,100 yards passing, 10 touchdowns last year, 1,200 yards rushing, 17 touchdowns. At running back, I've got Darius Favas of Manchester, 1,700 yards rushing, 19 touchdowns last year. Alvin Ricks of Wheeler County, 2024 All-State, 2,800 career rushing yards for him and 24 touchdowns. At tight end from Bowden, I got Jonah Wilson, 30 catches, 500 yards, and 7 touchdowns. The wide receiver spots, man, these were no-brainers. This was easy peasy right here. Caden Prothro of Bowden, 5-star wide receiver tight end, and also George Lamons of Brooks County, 63 catches for 1,300-plus yards and 20 touchdowns last year as a sophomore. And Xavier Buckner of Mount Zion, 39 catches, 10 touchdowns last year. On the offensive line, now this is where it gets tough, man. With offensive linemen, you just don't really have stats to back it up. So I had to go with guys who either were All-State last year, and there's only one of those returning, or guys who were first-team All-Region, respectively, around the state. So this is the toughest one. Take that for what it's worth. Kalijah Lee of Clinch County, now he was All-State last year, and he's returner, so he's back on the preseason All-State team. Christian Zanders of Telfair County, 6'2", 320 senior. Cameron Cobb from Brooks County, a 5'8", 275 senior. Haywood Boehner of Marion County, 6'3", 270 senior. And Cade Brooks from GMC, 6', 250 senior. That is my All-State offensive line for the preseason. Defensive side of the ball, let's go with Brooks County's DeMarion Washington Park, 13.5 tackles for loss, 5 quarterback sacks last year. Braylon Welch from Greenville had 9 TFL, 4 quarterback sacks. Javante Cummings of McIntosh County Academy, 9 TFL, a couple of quarterback sacks. Davon Wright of Washington Wilkes, 84 total tackles last season. That's my defensive line for 1A Division II. And Christian Elam from Lincoln County, he's my top linebacker, 111 total tackles. He is the top returning linebacker from a tackle standpoint in the entire classification. Christian Elam makes the team as my preseason linebacker. So does Amari Lundy of Turner County, who had 12 TFL and 11 quarterback sacks last season. Mekhi Jackson from McIntosh County Academy, 105 total tackles a year ago. Kasai Johnson of Metter, 103 total tackles and 7 TFL. And in the defensive backfield, we've got Ramarian Johnson from Terrell County, 10 TFL and 4 quarterback sacks, 76 total tackles for Ramarian last season. Travis Stevenson of Brooks County, we already mentioned him already in this podcast, a 4-star cornerback who's committed to Georgia Tech. Jaden Terry, Manchester, 4-star cornerback, also committed to Georgia Tech. Both those guys had 4 interceptions last season and a bunch of tackles. And Fred Causey from Clinch County, 61 total tackles and 6 interceptions. That rounds out the All-State defensive backfield. My special teams, Leo Anostra of Lake Oconee Academy. He was 9 for 11 on his field goals a year ago with a long of 53. Alan Esquivel Augustin of Mount Zion is my top punter on the preseason team. 35.5-yard average, 10 inside the 20. And Tamari Curry of Washington Wilkes, over 1,000 career returning yards and 4 touchdowns returned for touchdowns in his career. So that's a look at Class 1A Division II, top 10, and the All-State team. Let's go on now to Class 1A Division I and the top 10 rankings in that classification. And again, we'll go in inverse order. Let me take a swig of coffee here. Number 10, Rabun County. Finished 6-5 last season, ending a streak of 9 straight seasons, reaching the quarterfinals or better. But Rance Gillespie comes in as the new head coach there at Rabun County, and the name Rance Gillespie should resonate with you if you're a high school football fan. He's pretty much won big wherever he's been, and I'm predicting there's going to be a Wildcats revival this year after they went 6-5 last year. Their top returning player is All-State running back / defensive back Reed Giles. This is a guy, he never comes off the field. He just does everything for him on offense and defense. Temple checks in at number 9. The Tigers 9-3 and reached the second round of the playoffs last year under Coach Corey Nix. Their best season ever. Top returning players, All-State offensive lineman Dom Nicolosi. Number 8 in Division I. You got Fitzgerald, Purple Hurricane, 10-4. And reached the semifinals for the second straight year. In the state finals 3 straight years before that, including the 2021 state championship, and then had a coaching change as Tucker Pruitt left for Appling County. So a big coaching change late in the spring as that job opened up at Appling County. So new coach for Fitzgerald here in 2025, top returning player, All-State athlete Victor Copeland, and linebacker Tyson King. But I expect Fitzgerald will not miss a beat here in 2025. Got them checking in at number 8, though. They play in a tough region down there in South Georgia. Number 7, Worth County. Rams coming off a 9-win season. That was their most since 1999, and they reached the quarterfinals for the first time since 1997. Top returning player for Coach Jeff Hammond's team is All-State quarterback Lyndon Worthy. Lamar County comes in at number 6. Trojans were 9-3 last season for the second straight season under Coach Travis Ellington. Top returner, 3-star linebacker, and Maryland commit Caden Carter. Number 5 in Division I, Thomasville. Bulldogs 10-3. Best season under Coach Jonathan DeLay and reached the quarterfinals for the second time in his first 3 seasons. Top returner, All-State quarterback Cam Hill. Number 4 on the list in Division I, Fannin County. Rebels went 12-1 for the first time since 1995 last year for Coach Chad Cheatham, and they reached the quarterfinals for just the 3rd time in program history. Top returning players, all-region offensive lineman Jacob Green, defensive lineman Noah Burnett, linebacker C.J. Reese, and defensive back Braxton Cheatham as well. So Rebels got them high. Number 4 in my preseason top 10 for Division I. Number 3 on the list, Heard County. Braves finished 9-3 and reached the second round of the state playoffs under Coach Shane Lassiter last year. Won the region title in 2024. That was the first time they'd done that since they won the state title in 2018. And top returners are All-State defensive line Max Lassiter and quarterback Ethan Tisdale. Number 2 in Division I, Northeast Macon. Reached the state finals last year. History-making season for Coach Jeremy Wiggins as the Raiders went 12-3. Got to the state finals for the first time ever. How special was that? Well, they've still only won 1 region title in program history. Yet they got to the state finals, did not even win the region last year, still got to the state finals. Expecting big things again from Northeast Macon. returning All-State defensive lineman Amari White and defensive back Courtney Williams, who led the entire state in interceptions, but more on him in just a moment when we talk about the All-State team. And number one in the 1A Division I preseason rankings, you have Toombs County. Bulldogs finish the season 13-1 under Coach of the Year Buddy Martin, won the state championship with a 38-18 win over Northeast Macon. Top returning players, All-State defensive lineman Hayden Roy and All-State defensive back running back Alex Scott. So Toombs County got them number one. I don't know. My preseason rankings aren't necessarily a predictor. It's not really a predictor as to what a team is going to do, in my mind. It's more of, this is where they are right now at the start of the season. Are they going to be there at the end of the season? That's the question. But right now, how else can you have anybody but Toombs County and Bowden there at the top of the rankings in 1A Division I and 1A Division II? All right, our Division I preseason All-State team, I had to go co-quarterbacks on the All-State team because I just couldn't separate the two. I looked at their resumes, looked at what they did last year, and both of them worthy. So going Ethan Tisdale of Heard County, he had 1,965 yards passing, 21 touchdowns, 1,365 yards rushing, 21 touchdowns. And the co-quarterback is Lyndon Worthy of Worth County, who's more of a passer, not a runner, like Tisdale's a dual threat. And Worthy threw for 3,400 yards and 37 touchdowns last year. So co-quarterbacks for Tisdale and Worthy there on the Division I preseason All-State team. At running back, I got Reed Giles. I talked to you about him just a few moments ago. Rabun County, 1,300-plus yards rushing, 16 touchdowns, another 30 catches and 2 touchdowns. Caden Chester of Worth County, he's my other running back on the All-State team, 1,100-plus yards rushing, 22 touchdowns, and 25 catches a year ago. My tight end is Jaden Farley of Worth County, 55 catches for 710 yards and 10 touchdowns. The wide receivers on the Division I All-State team, you go Gavin Fletcher, Toombs County, 38 catches, 9 touchdowns a year ago. Brody Buck Cofield of Heard County, love the name. Brody Buck, love it. 41 catches, 5 touchdowns, and Zayden Moreland of Heard County. So got 2 from Heard County, 19 catches, 9 touchdowns. Man, you think about that ratio, 19 catches for 462. He's making big plays with almost every catch. That's well over 20 yards per catch. So he's on the All-State team, and he's just a youngster. I think he's a rising junior. Offensive line, it's hard to pick. But Dom Nicolosi of Temple, he's a pretty solid pick. All-State last year, 2-time first-team All-Region, 6'4", 310 senior. Corey Moore of Social Circle, 6', 280 senior. What really hit the bell for me was he set the school squat record this past year, squatting 575 pounds. Corey Moore is on the team. Ryan Self, also from Temple, so Dom's teammate, 6'4", 285 senior. He was All-Region last year. Kadorian Benjamin of Swainsboro makes the team. This guy's massive, 6'5", 320, and here during the summer, he committed to play for Dale McGee at Georgia State. And Luke Reese, 6'2", 280 senior, All-State honorable mention last year. He's a 4-year starter. He makes the first team, the All-State team in Division I. Defense, let's start with the defensive line. Ronaldo Calloway of Southwest Macon, he's a 3-star edge, committed to Rutgers. 100 tackles last year on the defensive line. Not an easy thing to do. 29 TFL, 11.5 quarterback sacks. Max Lassiter of Heard County, 93 tackles, 22 TFL last season. Amari White, Northeast Macon, 70 tackles, 17 TFL last season. And Hayden Roy of Toombs County, 68 total tackles, 20 TFL. Also Bryson Johnson of Lamar County. Listen to this sophomore season that Bryson had. And you tell me, how do I leave him off the All-State team? 61 total tackles, 16 TFL, 12.5 quarterback sacks as a 10th grader. Just imagine what his junior season might look like. So he makes the preseason All-State team. At linebacker, got Caden Carter of Lamar County. Mentioned him earlier. He's a 3-star linebacker committed to Maryland. Jabois Smith of Swainsboro. If I said his name right, if I didn't say his name right, I apologize. But I'm just pronouncing it the way it's spelled. 4-star linebacker rated number 6 in the country for 2027. 88 total tackles for him this past season. Cope Duran of Jasper County, he's the top returning tackler from 2024 with 166 total tackles as a sophomore. 13 TFL and 4 quarterback sacks. Talon Sampson of Northeast Macon, 133 total tackles and 20 TFL. That rounds out the linebacking core. And the defensive backs, the aforementioned Courtney Williams of Northeast Macon led the state with 10 interceptions last year as a 10th grader. Amazing. He was honorable mention All-State last year. I don't know how you get 10 picks and get honorable mention. But he did, but he makes my All-State team here in 2025 for the preseason. Steve Atchison of McNair, he was also All-State honorable mention last year. 76 total tackles, 7 TFL, a couple of quarterback sacks, and an interception. Alex Scott of Toombs County, one of the reasons, Toombs County comes back as the preseason number 1 in Division I, had 83 total tackles, 11 TFL last year. And Riley Thomas of Gordon Central, 90 total tackles and 4 interceptions a year ago for him. So congratulations to those guys. And now before we go, the special teams All-State for Division I. Place kicker Carter Allen of Bremen, Coles kicking 4-star and a 4.5-star punter. He was 2024 All-State, repeats here in 2025 on the preseason team. Christian Avila of Rabun County, also another 2024 All-State returner, so he's 2025 preseason. And Jeremiah Burns of Dodge County is my top returner, 660 return yards and 4 kick return touchdowns in 2024. That'll track, as they like to say on the commercial. No doubt about it. He is special teams return All-State for Division I. That'll wrap up our first podcast of the season. Again, please hit that like button. Do me a favor. And also hit that subscribe button so you'll make sure that you receive notification for the next podcast when we drop it here in the next couple of days. And remember, if you want to talk to me, best way to do it is on Twitter at Matt Stewart TV or on Facebook at Matt Stewart Sports. That's my page.